Hi, my name is Mike Ruff. I'm a color consultant for the screen print and digital print industry. And one of the things that I do a lot of is I do a lot of G7 color calibrations for screen printers that want to be G7 master printers. One of the primary challenges that I always have is with the solid ink colors. In the screen print industry, there's a lot of ink sets that are not really balanced and they're really not close to international standards. But that doesn't mean that I can't do G7 calibration with those. It just takes me a lot of work because I have to go and manipulate those colors before we can get started on the G7 color balance. Let me show you what a set of inks looks like when it's not balanced. The first image I'm going to show you here is a picture of a cheeseburger, and you can look at it and say, oh, that's a pretty good looking cheeseburger, but there's something horribly wrong with it, and that is it's got a real green cast. Actually, if I put a lot of the ink sets without changing those values as I get started, then what happens is I could actually get, this is actually about what it would look like, because I always get a green cast when they're not balanced. Now let me show you a balanced ink set. Let me show you something that is calibrated to G7 and using a balanced ink set. And this cheeseburger is a good looking cheeseburger, right? I mean, you could just about eat that puppy right now. It looks so good. So all the colors are right, and that's actually probably what the designer is pretty much looking at on his screen. And so that's why the solid colors are very important when we start to do G7 color calibration. Now, one of the things that I always do as I get started with the printer is I say the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to press and we're going to get those solids right. And they said, well, what's my density supposed to be? And I said, well, the density is really not color. The color is LAB. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit those LAB colors that are our target, which are international standards. We hit those targets, and then we measure the ink, and we say, well, that's our density. Now we can come back to it on the next run without any problem. We don't have to measure color again. When we get to that density on that substrate, we're going to be right where we want to be. Now, I ran into a real interesting situation when I did that a few weeks ago. I was on press and I put some ink on the press. I put the ink that they were using on the press, and I said the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the solids just like I always do. And we got it up to color, in other words about 20-30 sheets. We measured the solids, and wow, they hit. I thought, wow, I can't believe it. I'm really lucky today. So anyway, it made my job a lot easier to just balance those inks. So I didn't think much about it, except I was sure glad that that hit without having to do a lot of work. A few weeks later, I was at another shop, totally different shop, put inks on the press, told the printer exactly what we were going to do. We're going to hit the solids first, then we'll measure the density and see where we at, and then we'll balance the grays. Put it on the press, wham, it hit the first thing. I thought, I got to investigate this. So I looked at the inks, and the ink is actually a Polymeric GP series. And so I went to the factory and I actually talked to them, and they were real helpful to me. And I was looking at all their different ink sets, and I thought, well, you guys have really done some work of trying to hit those international standards. So what you should do as a printer, you need to check it out. That's Polymeric GP. You need to check it out as soon as you can.